Hi, I'm Mary. As an employer, you may have received one or more income withholding for support notices for an employee. This notice is the official New York State Income Withholding Order, or IWO, and it requires you to withhold income for child support obligations. You may wonder if the amount to be withheld is too much in relation to the employee's earnings. By using the online Income Withholding Calculator, you can see if that is the case. The online calculator is an optional tool for employers to use to calculate child support withholding in accordance with federal and New York State laws and regulations. During this video, we'll walk you through two hypothetical scenarios to show you how to use it. Before we begin, let's look at the calculator, which you can find on the New York State Child Support website, childsupport.ny.gov. Click the Employers tab at the top of the page, then select Calculator. You will find the actual calculator below the introductory information. It consists of abbreviated instructions, data fields, and buttons. There are three types of data fields: input fields, drop-down menu fields, and calculated fields. Input fields, such as gross earnings per pay cycle, require you to enter data. Drop-down menu fields, such as pay cycle, allow you to select the appropriate option from a list of choices when you click the downward arrowhead. Calculated fields are shaded gray, and their contents result from data you enter or selections you make in the other two types of fields. Clicking on a button performs an action. For example, clicking the larger buttons after you have entered data in the fields for that section of the calculator triggers the calculations in the related calculated fields. Clicking on the large question mark opens a new window with detailed information on that topic. Located at the bottom of the calculator are buttons that will allow you to clear the calculator should you make a mistake entering data or if you want to start again. At any time, you can generate a blank calculator by clicking the New Calculation or Reset button. Before using the calculator, it is more efficient to gather all the information you will need about the employee. From the bottom of page 1 of the Income Withholding Order, in the area labeled Order Information, you can find the required amount of support and the ordered payment cycle, or more simply, the payment frequency for each category of child support included in the order. If the employee is required to provide health insurance coverage for the dependents listed on page 1 of the IWO, you also need the amount the employee pays for the health insurance premium. You would know this if you received a National Medical Support Notice for the employee. Finally, from your own internal employer records, gather the employee's payroll deductions. Once you've collected this information, you're ready to use the calculator. In our scenario, we have gathered all information about a hypothetical employee who earns $800 biweekly and has one income withholding order. Now let's start our walkthrough to see how to use the calculator. We will begin by using the calculator to calculate the employee's aggregate disposable income. First, enter $800 in the gross earnings per pay cycle field. This is the amount the employee earns before any deductions. Then, select the pay cycle from the drop-down menu. Our employee is paid bi-weekly, which is every 2 weeks. Next, enter the amount of deductions required by New York State law. In this case, the federal income tax is $42.84, and Social Security tax is $49.60. Note that as you enter these amounts, you can use the Tab key located on your keyboard to advance to the next field with ease. Moving on, the Medicare tax is $11.60 and the state income tax is $21.62. In our scenario, there is no city or local income tax or involuntary retirement or pension plan payments deductions, but you may encounter employees with one or both of these deductions. Involuntary retirement or pension plan payments do not include any voluntary payments such as contributions to a 401k, loans, or judgments from a collection agency. After entering this data, click the Disposable Income button. This produces results in two calculated fields: total deductions required by law and disposable income. In our scenario, the total deductions required by law is $125.66, and the employee's disposable income is $674.34. As you may already know, federal and state law limit the amount an employer can withhold from an employee's earnings for child support. So, the next section of the calculator determines the Consumer Credit Protection Act, or CCPA, percentage and the maximum withholding amount allowed based on the employee's circumstances, as well as the aggregate disposable income. The maximum withholding amount is based on the limitation percentage. The limitation percentage is affected by the date of the IWO, before August 29, 2018 or after, and other factors. Use the drop-down box to answer the question, any IWO issued on or after August 29, 2018. If the date of the IWO is prior to August 29, 2018, there are two questions we must answer to determine limitation percentage. If the date of the IWO is on or after August 29, 2018, there is one question we must answer. In our example, select No, as the date of the IWO is prior to August 29, 2018. You'll see an additional field. Employee supports another spouse or child. Question 1. Does the employee owe arrears greater than 12 weeks on any of the IWOs? Well, the answer to this question is on the bottom of page 1 of the income withholding order in the area labeled Order Information. For our scenario, choose Yes in the drop-down menu. Question 2. Does the employee support another spouse or child besides those listed on the IWO? Note, if the date of any IWO is on or after August 29, 2018, this question does not apply. To answer this question, look to see if the employee has other income withholding orders. If so, then answer Yes. Otherwise, contact the employee for this information. In our example, select No in the drop-down menu. Based on the information we've provided, the calculator will generate the CCPA percentage and the maximum withholding amount for the employee. Click the CCPA and Maximum button to display the results in those fields. Here, you can see the CCPA percentage is 0.65 or 65%, while the maximum withholding amount is $438.32. The next section of the calculator allows us to enter information from each income withholding order for the employee and compare it to the maximum withholding amount. The calculator is preset for one IWO, which is the number of IWOs we have in our scenario. However, there may be times when you have more than one IWO for an employee. In these cases, you would use the drop-down menu to select the corresponding number of IWOs. For example, if you select 3 IWOs for an employee, then click the Display IWOs button, the calculator generates the appropriate number of fields you'll need for entering the total amount to withhold from each IWO. IWO 1, IWO 2, and IWO 3. But remember, our scenario only has one IWO. To get us back to one IWO, click the Reselect button, then select 1 from the drop-down menu. You can also use this function if you select an incorrect number of IWOs. Here, we will enter the total amount to withhold for your pay cycle. We can find this information on the bottom of page 1 of the IWO. This employee's income withholding order tells us to withhold a total of $256.92 on a biweekly basis. The payment frequency happens to be the same as the pay cycle in our scenario, which we entered into the calculator earlier. You may encounter situations where the payment frequency of the ordered amount differs from your pay cycle. In these cases, select the amount of withholding that matches your pay cycle from the IWO. You can find this information on page 1 of the IWO in the area under the label Amounts to Withhold. For example, if the employee is paid on a monthly basis, you would use $556.66 rather than $256.92. But as we said, in our scenario, the pay cycle is biweekly, so we will enter that amount of $256.92 into the IWO1 total amount to withhold for your pay cycle field. If the employee has health insurance coverage that includes the dependents listed on page 1 of the IWO, enter the premium paid by the employee. In this scenario, the health insurance premium is $40 per biweekly pay cycle. After entering these amounts, click the Compare to Maximum button. This calculation determines our next steps based on whether the total amount to withhold is more than, equal to, or less than the maximum withholding amount. Once we click the button, the calculator simultaneously generates the total of all IWOs and health insurance premium and displays a pop-up window indicating our next steps. In this scenario, the total of all IWOs and health insurance premium is $296.92, which is less than the maximum withholding amount of $438.32. The pop-up window in this case tells us our calculation is complete. We can stop here and withhold the full ordered amount. To view the amounts to withhold and remit, click OK in the pop-up window and scroll down to the Amounts to Withhold and Remit section of the calculator. Please note that the withhold for health insurance amount is included in the total amount to withhold. Therefore, the total amount to withhold is the amount the employer will deduct from the employee's paycheck. The total amount to remit is the amount the employer will send to the New York State Child Support Processing Center, the state disbursement unit. Click Print to print the web page, including the calculator and any calculations in its entirety. In our first scenario, the amount to withhold was not too much in relation to the employee's earnings. But what happens when the total amount to withhold is more than the maximum allowed? To answer this question, let's look at an example which will give us this result. Let's say you have an employee for whom you received 2 IWOs. In this scenario, we will use the same aggregate disposable income information from our first scenario. Now, we'll move to the next section of the calculator, Determine CCPA Percentage and Maximum Withholding. As discussed in our first scenario, use the drop-down box to answer the question, any IWO issued on or after August 29, 2018. If the date of the IWO is prior to August 29, 2018, there are 2 questions we must answer to determine limitation percentage. If the date of the IWO is on or after August 29, 2018, there is 1 question we must answer. In our example, select No, as the date of the IWO is prior to August 29, 2018. As we noted in our first scenario, the information at the bottom of page 1 of the IWO indicates that the employee owes arrears greater than 12 weeks. So select Yes as the answer to this question. Does the employee support another spouse or child? Yes. As noted in our first scenario, if the date of any IWO is on or after August 29, 2018, this question does not apply. At this point, click the CCPA and Maximum button to determine the CCPA percentage and maximum withholding amount. Now, the CCPA percentage is 0.55 or 55%, while the maximum withholding amount is $370.89. Next, we'll move to the Compare Total Ordered to Maximum Withholding section of the calculator. Notice that in this section of the calculator, the number of IWOs is preset for 1. However, in this scenario, we have 2. Use the drop-down menu to select the corresponding number of IWOs. Then, click the Display IWOs button to generate the second field for entering the total amount to withhold for your pay cycle for IWO 2. Remember, you can use the Reselect button to reset the number of IWOs if needed. Next, go to the bottom of each IWO to find the total amount to withhold. Since the payment frequency and our pay cycle are both biweekly, we will use $256.92. Enter that amount into the IWO 1 field. From the second IWO, enter $271.92 into the IWO 2 field. If the employee has health insurance coverage that includes the dependents listed on page 1 of the IWO, enter the premium paid by the employee. In our scenario, it's $40 per biweekly pay cycle. After entering these amounts, click the Compare to Maximum button. Remember, this calculation determines our next steps based on whether the total amount to withhold is more than, equal to, or less than the maximum withholding amount. Once we click the button, the calculator simultaneously generates the total of all IWOs and health insurance premium and displays a pop-up window indicating our next steps. In this scenario, the total of all IWOs and health insurance premium is $568.84, which is more than the maximum withholding amount of $370.89. Because the amount to be withheld cannot exceed the maximum withholding amount allowed, the pop-up window tells us to continue to the prorated calculation section of the calculator. There, we will enter more detailed information from each IWO, and the calculator will allocate prorated amounts to withhold for each order so that the total does not exceed the maximum withholding amount allowed. Click OK in the pop-up window, and move down to the prorated calculation, enter current, past due, and other amounts from each IWO section of the calculator. In this section, the pay cycle selected above field is already filled with the choice we made in the Calculate Aggregate Disposable Income section of the calculator. In this case, we chose biweekly for the employer's pay cycle. When necessary, the calculator will allow us to convert the payment frequency to correspond to our pay cycle. Now, we'll need to enter information from the Order Information section of each IWO. On the first IWO, begin with Current Child Support. In our scenario, the order requires $100 biweekly. Enter that amount into the calculator. Since the payment frequency matches the biweekly pay cycle, we do not need to convert it. Next, enter the remaining IWO1 order information into the calculator. In this case, the past due child support requires $110 biweekly. No need for conversion. There is no current or past due cash medical support in our scenario, but you may encounter employees with one or both of these payments. The current spousal support requires $40 biweekly. Again, we do not need to convert the payment frequency for this category. We have no past due spousal support in this example. However, again, you may encounter employees with this payment. The other, payments to a third or fourth party, requires $15 monthly. For this category, we'll convert since the payment frequency is monthly and our pay cycle is biweekly. To do this, use the Convert From drop-down menu on the calculator and select Monthly to Biweekly. Next, click the Convert and Total IWO1 button. This calculation will match the total amount to withhold on the IWO, in our example, $256.92. Notice how the support amount for other third or fourth party at $15 with a payment frequency of monthly becomes $6.92 in the To Your Amount field on the calculator. This changed because we converted the pay cycle from monthly to biweekly. Now, we'll need to repeat these same steps for the second IWO. In this example, the current child support requires $150 biweekly. We do not need to convert it since it matches our pay cycle. The past due child support requires $75 biweekly. Again, it is not necessary to convert it. There is no current or past due cash medical support in our scenario, but remember, you may encounter employees with one or both of these payments. The current spousal support requires $40 biweekly. We don't need to convert the payment frequency for this category either. We have no past due spousal support in this example. However, again, you may encounter employees with this payment. The other, payments to a third or fourth party, requires $15 monthly. As before, we'll convert since our pay cycle is biweekly and the payment frequency is monthly. Again, use the Convert From drop-down menu on the calculator and select monthly to biweekly. Next, click the Convert and Total IWO To button. This number will match the total amount to withhold on the second IWO. In our scenario, $271.92. Notice how the support amount for other third or fourth party at $15 with a payment frequency of monthly becomes $6.92 in the To Your Amount field on the calculator. Next, in the section below, click the Total All IWOs button to calculate the total current support, total past due and other, and total all IWOs. In our scenario, the total current support is $330. The total past due and other is $198.84, and the total all IWOs is $528.84. The health insurance premium amount of premium field is already filled with the amount we entered earlier when comparing the total ordered to the maximum withholding amount. Finally, by clicking the Calculate Withholding button, the calculator generates the allocated withholding amounts for each IWO's total, current, and past due and other fields. It also calculates amounts for withhold for health insurance, total amount to withhold, and total amount to remit. Note that while you can make a single payment for the two IWOs, you must separately identify the amount to be paid for each New York case identifier. As we can see, the total for all withholdings no longer exceeds and is now equal to the maximum withholding amount allowed for this employee. There are some circumstances where the employer may not withhold the health insurance premium even when ordered to do so. This happens if the total current support plus the health insurance premium paid by the employee for dependent coverage exceeds the maximum withholding amount. In these cases, the amount in the calculated field Withhold for Health Insurance displays as 0. In this scenario, the total current support for the two IWOs is $140 plus $190, which equals $330. When combined with the health insurance premium of $40, the new total becomes $370, which is less than the maximum withholding amount of $370.89. So in this case, the calculated field Withhold for Health Insurance displays $40, which the employer will withhold. Remember, the Withhold for Health Insurance amount is included in the total amount to withhold. Therefore, the total amount to withhold is the amount the employer will deduct from the employee's paycheck. The total amount to remit is the amount the employer will send to the New York State Child Support Processing Center, the state disbursement unit. These were just a couple of examples of situations you could encounter when ordered to withhold a portion of an employee's income for child support obligations. Remember, the online income withholding calculator is a tool you can use anytime you need assistance with determining the amounts to withhold or remit. If you have any questions regarding the online calculator, please contact us by email at nysdcse@otda.ny.gov. Thank you for watching, and good luck calculating!